Computer addresses. What is it? Let's dive into the world of computer addresses. Just like you need an address to get mail, computers need addresses to communicate with each other. These addresses are like unique identifiers that tell other devices where to send information. Without them, the internet, your home network, nothing would work. Think of it like sending a letter. You wouldn't just throw a letter in the mail without an address, right? It would never reach its destination. Computer addresses work the same way. They make sure data gets to the right place. There are different types of computer addresses, each with a specific purpose. Some addresses help computers find information inside themselves, while others are used to communicate with devices across the globe. It might seem complicated at first, but trust me, it's not rocket science. We'll break it down together, and by the end of this, you'll be a computer address pro. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about memory addresses. These addresses are used by your computer's CPU, the brain of the operation, to access information stored in RAM, which is like the computer's short-term memory. Imagine RAM as a giant warehouse with millions of storage boxes. Each box has a unique address, and the CPU uses these addresses to find and retrieve the data it needs. These addresses are crucial for your computer to run programs, open files, and do pretty much anything. Let's say you're playing a game. The game's files are stored in RAM, and each piece of data, like your character's position or your score, has a specific memory address. The CPU uses these addresses to constantly update and display the game on your screen. Now, you don't need to memorize these memory addresses or anything, they're handled automatically by your computer. But it's cool to understand how your computer uses them behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly. Next, we have IP addresses, which stand for Internet Protocol addresses. These are like your computer's ID card on a network, allowing it to communicate with other devices on the internet or a local network. Think of the internet as a massive network of roads, and each device connected to it needs a unique address to send and receive data. That's where IP addresses come in. They ensure that data packets, which are like little envelopes of information, reach their intended destination. There are two main types of IP addresses, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 addresses look like this, 192.168.1.1, while IPv6 addresses are longer and use hexadecimal characters like this, 2001:0DB8:0000:8A3:00370:037:0:7334. You can find your computer's IP address through your operating system's network settings. We'll cover the exact steps later on. For now, just know that your IP address is essential for connecting to the internet and other devices. Keeping track on the local network MAC addresses. Now let's talk about MAC addresses, or Media Access Control addresses. Unlike IP addresses, which can change, MAC addresses are permanently assigned to your network interface card, or NIC, by the manufacturer. They're like a unique fingerprint for your device on a local network. When you're connected to a local network like your home Wi-Fi, your router uses MAC addresses to identify and communicate with different devices. It's like a roll call, ensuring that data packets are delivered to the correct device within the network. MAC addresses are usually displayed as a series of hexadecimal characters separated by colons, like this, 001122333445. Don't worry, you don't need to memorize these either. They're mostly used behind the scenes by your router and network devices. Finding your computer's addresses. Alright, now that we've covered the different types of computer addresses, you might be wondering how to find your own. Don't worry, it's easier than you think. Finding your IP address. For Windows, open Command Prompt and type ipconfig. Look for IPv4, address for your local IP address and default gateway for your router's IP address. For macOS, go to System Preferences, then Network. Select your active connection and look for IP address. For Linux, open a terminal window and type ifconfig. Your IP address will be listed next to inet, finding your MAC address. For Windows, in Command Prompt, type ipconfig/all. Look for physical address. For macOS, go to System Preferences, then Network, then Advanced, and finally Hardware. For Linux, in a terminal window, type ifconfig-a. Your MAC address will be listed next to Ether. Changing your addresses. When and how. In most cases, you won't need to change your computer's addresses manually. Your operating system and router usually handle this automatically. However, there are times when you might need to make adjustments. Changing your IP address. Dynamic versus static IP. Most internet providers assign dynamic IP addresses which can change periodically. If you need a fixed IP address, you can contact your provider for a static IP. Local IP conflicts. If two devices on your network have the same local IP address, it can cause conflicts. You can usually resolve this by restarting your router or devices. Changing your MAC address. Spoofing. While not recommended, it's technically possible to change your MAC address temporarily, known as spoofing. This can be used for troubleshooting or bypassing certain network restrictions. However, it's important to note that MAC address spoofing can be used for malicious purposes as well. Addresses in action: how devices connect. So we've learned about different types of computer addresses together. Let's break down a simple example of how devices connect using these addresses. Imagine you're browsing the web on your laptop. When you type in a website address, your computer sends its local IP address and MAC address. Your router then forwards this request to the internet, using its public IP address. The request travels across the internet, guided by IP addresses where the website is hosted. The server then sends the website data back to your router, again using IP addresses. Finally, your router, recognizing your computer's MAC address, forwards laptop, and voila, you're browsing the web. This is just a basic example, but it highlights how crucial computer addresses are for communication between devices, whether it's on a local network or across the internet. Computer addresses. Hopefully this has given you a better understanding of these essential components of the digital world. Remember, just like you wouldn't want to live without a home address, computers rely on the vast network of the internet and beyond. So next time you're online, take a moment to appreciate the magic of computer addresses at work.